Welcome to the channel English Epics. It's amusing how people can underestimate the consequences of their actions. My name is Ryan. The best way to describe me is to say that I am a lover and a mild-mannered man who gives his wife everything she wants. It took me 2 marriages to realize that being reserved and giving everything to the one you love can lead to contempt and disrespect. That will never happen again. These spoiled women think they can do things and hide them from their partners. As long as their partners never find out, everything is fine. They conceal their guilt in various ways until they get caught, and then suddenly they regret it and explain that they never wanted their spouse to find out and suffer. Do they even hear themselves speak? What are we supposed to think when they say they never wanted us to find out? Do they realize that they are admitting they did it behind our backs and only regret getting caught? What an insult. I am convinced that these women are incapable of normal thinking. Sandy and I met after we both left dysfunctional relationships. She spent 3 years with her boyfriend, but Billy left her for a younger and more attractive girl. Sandy left the relationship hurt and struggling with self-esteem issues because the man she loved had abandoned her. She never managed to forget Billy, and that always bothered me on some level. My name is Ryan, and I am 6 years older than Sandy. I was married for 5 years to an incredibly hot, sexually passionate woman who shook my world. I was madly in love with her and expected to spend the rest of my life with my ex-wife, Charlotte. However, she had multiple lovers behind my back while I was completely enthralled by her. It took me a year of her cheating to discover her infidelity, and it caused me immense pain. I left her and vowed never to let this happen again. After that, I realized that trust would be an issue for me in any new relationship. Sandy and I were aware of each other's baggage. I helped Sandy overcome her self-esteem issues. She started going to the gym and sculpted an amazing figure. She spent all her free time shopping for new clothes, spending hours in beauty salons, and playing tennis. With my help and support, she transformed into a confident, beautiful woman. In turn, knowing my history, Sandy worked hard to help me overcome my trust issues. She always made sure I knew that I was her one and only love, and how lucky she was to have found me. Every day, she tried to tell me how much she loved me and made sure all my desires were fulfilled. Sex was still amazing, and we had it at least 4 times a week. We still kissed and cuddled on the couch and loved each other. We even started talking about having kids. We were soulmates. Life was good, or at least that's what I thought. A week after our 6th anniversary, my world turned upside down. I noticed that my wife was wearing a dress I had never seen before and looked stunning, which was unusual for a late morning on a weekday. Now, I wasn't spying on my wife, but we have a home surveillance system that I sometimes check when I'm bored at work. I enjoy watching our dog, Brandy, my little dachshund, as she has become my stress relief after my demanding job as a bond broker. However, when I saw the live feed that morning, I became curious. There was the love of my life in a very short, sexy red dress and extremely high heels. Her hair was styled and her makeup was flawless. I hadn't seen her look that sexy in years, which made my stomach tighten, and I started to worry. I immediately called my loving wife to see if I could find out what she was up to. I dialed her number. "Hey, baby, I'm just sitting here thinking about you. How's your day going? Tennis today? Hi, honey, I miss you. Nothing planned for today? No tennis because Kara hurt her ankle, so I took the day off. Oh, that's too bad. I know how much you love playing. So, what are you planning to do instead? Not sure. I don't have anything planned. Maybe I'll go to the gym. Would you like to meet for lunch? I can swing by and pick you up." "That's so sweet, baby, but not today. I'm feeling a little bloated, and I don't really feel like eating right now. I'll just have a protein shake at the gym. See you tonight. I love you, baby." I said goodbye without my usual, "I love you." I'm sure she caught it because I always say I love you before we end our calls. She was lying to me, and I needed to find out why. Of course, some things die hard, and although I trusted Sandy after so many years, I still had a GPS tracker in her car, which I rarely used. Initially, I placed it there for safety, but unfortunately, I was now using it to spy on my wife. As soon as I hung up, I left my office, walked to my car, and activated her tracker. She was heading downtown, so I drove in that direction. My office was not far from the city center, and 15 minutes later, I caught up with her, noticing her pulling into a garage. I parked on the street and waited by the entrance until she came out. 5 minutes later, my beautiful wife, in her high heels and sexy dress, was walking toward Fellini, an upscale restaurant. I stood there feeling my stomach tighten, praying that I wasn't being deceived by another woman. When I saw her wave at a man in front of the restaurant, I knew I was in trouble. I moved closer, trying to stay out of sight, and saw him greet her with a kiss. They exchanged a few words before he took her hand and led her inside that I quickly crossed the street and watched through the window as they stood in front of the hostess, holding each other by the waist. I noticed Sandy lovingly lean her head against his shoulder. Tears began to fill my eyes before rage took over. I wiped my eyes, pulled out my phone, and started taking pictures through the window. As I was capturing the moment, I saw him turn to Sandy and kiss her passionately. I took several photos just as she kissed him back. My heart shattered when she wrapped her arms around his neck and pulled him in even deeper. At that moment, I switched to video mode and recorded their loving kiss. The combination of pain in my heart and fury in my head led me down a dark path. Before I could decide what to do next, the hostess led them to their table. My blood boiled. When I recognized that man, it was Billy, her ex-boyfriend, the guy who had left her and shattered her life, and now she was back in his arms. She knew how I felt about him, and that I had made it clear she was never to speak to him again. Clearly, she didn't agree with my wishes. My anger took over when I realized that in just the past hour, she had lied to me, dressed seductively to meet her ex, kissed him passionately, and was spending the whole day with him. Such a level of disrespect and humiliation was unacceptable, and I could no longer live with it. The promise I made to myself after my last marriage kept me from being patient or tolerating this level of disrespect. It was over, and the only thing left was to hear more lies and excuses from my soon-to-be ex-wife. Still full of rage, I drove back to the office and finished the day at my desk, trying to understand how this could have happened again. After 5 hours of feeling sorry for myself, I headed home, already knowing my next move. I was curious to see if Sandy would tell me the truth about her day or continue deceiving me, as that would make my final step much easier. With great effort, I managed to suppress my anger and drove home to face the collapse of my marriage. As I turned onto my driveway, I felt tears welling up from the loss of the woman I had loved and respected. Sandy was setting the table with a delicious dinner, dressed in a cute outfit, and acting very affectionate toward me when I walked into the kitchen. She kissed me deeply and told me how much she had missed me. Typical cheating wife nonsense, I thought. The woman was trying to ease her guilt and make up for it by showing more love than she had in the past 6 months. No matter how hard I tried to act normal, it obviously didn't work when she looked at me and asked, "Honey, are you okay? Did something happen?" I poured myself a tall glass of Mr. Daniels, tried to smile, relax, and said, "Everything's fine, just a stressful day. Let me change and freshen up for dinner and I'll be down soon." In the bedroom, I changed clothes and sat on the bed, finishing my drink and letting the elixir wash over me. After calming down, I went back to the kitchen and saw my beautiful wife, smiling and happy, with dinner set on the table. She was in a great mood, clearly pleased with how she had spent the day with her boyfriend. As we sat there together, I started the conversation. "This is a wonderful dinner, Sandy. And you dressed so beautifully for me today, thank you. I love you, honey, and I love cooking for you," she said with a satisfied smile. For a few minutes, we sat in awkward silence while eating. I noticed that Sandy kept glancing at me, wondering what was bothering me. Did she feel guilty? Would she tell me the truth about her day? I would find out in the next few minutes. "So, tell me about your day and what you did for lunch," I said without any threat in my voice. Well, after you called, I went to the gym for a few hours, had a protein bar, and then came home to cook dinner for you. Pretty boring day, she offered as her answer. She saw my face and noticed that my eyes had filled with tears, quickly lowering her gaze to her plate. In a quiet voice, I said, "So, Sandy, how are we going to do this? Are we just going to meet with lawyers, or would you like to see a therapist first?" "What are you talking about, honey?" "About divorce, of course," I replied. "Stop being silly. What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the end of our marriage, divorce, separation, figuring out how we can do this and still remain friends. I don't understand. Why do you want a divorce?" "Really? I'll give you a few minutes to think about your question before I answer." Suddenly, she became nervous, her hands fidgeting with her glass, and she no longer looked me in the eyes. She remained silent for a few minutes. "Did you follow me today?" "No," I lied, knowing that it didn't really matter, but for some reason not wanting her to know. "Why are you asking me if I followed you? Is there something I should know?" I could tell she was, still confused and unsure of what to say. Like all cheaters, they deny it. As expected, she insisted that nothing was going on and that she didn't understand what I was talking about. "Why are you asking me about divorce?" With a sad expression, I stared into her eyes for a long time, hoping she would open up and tell me the truth. After a long silence, I said, "Well, let me show you what's bothering me, Sandy." I unlocked my phone and showed her a photo of her and Billy kissing when they met outside the restaurant. That picture could have been explained away as a friendly greeting kiss. I didn't want to show her the other photos until I heard more of her lies. Her jaw dropped, and I saw tears well up in her eyes. She was, of course, coming up with excuses. "Honey, I can explain. It was just a greeting kiss. Nothing happened." "Where did you get this photo? So how's Billy doing these days, baby?" "Let me tell you how I got this photo. I was crossing the street after leaving a software store when I thought I saw you walking hand in hand into a restaurant. I crossed the street and walked up to the window, only to see you standing there while he wrapped one arm around you. My first thought was that it wasn't you, but of course I was wrong. It was you. My second thought was, why is she wearing that sexy dress and high heels? She never dresses like that for me anymore. Then I noticed that you were with Billy, and everything suddenly made sense. I started taking a few pictures just as you leaned in and kissed him, and that's how I got this photo. The next photo I showed her captured her with her arms around his neck, her short dress riding up so high that her backside was on full display. You really did look sexy in that dress, and your hair and makeup were stunning. Were you heading to a modeling shoot or applying for a job as a prostitute? Tell me, why did you dress like that for him? I don't remember the last time you wore something that sexy for me." She dropped her head into her hands and started crying while I stared at her, waiting for an answer. When she remained silent, I continued. "You know, my new S22 phone has an amazing camera that lets me zoom in with incredible clarity. Here, let me show you," I said, zooming in on her left hand, which was wrapped around Billy's neck. I enlarged the image of her ring finger, now bare, with no wedding rings, and held the image up to her face. "No wedding rings today. Funny, I don't remember you ever taking them off in all the time we've been together. Today must have been a really special day. Now, do you understand why I'm talking? About divorce, dear? You lied to me this morning about your day. You took off your wedding rings. You dressed provocatively to meet your old lover, and then you lied to me again about your day just a few minutes ago. You're sitting here, still lying to my face, telling me you went to the gym today and had nothing for lunch. You put on your sexiest outfit for your ex-lover and spent the day with him while I was working to make our life better. You broke your promise never to see him again. You kissed and flirted with another man in public. You treated me like a fool and just lied to me again. I don't know if you slept with him today or did something else, but honestly, it doesn't even matter. Whatever you say now, in my mind, it's a lie. But what you did showed me that you don't keep your promises, and you'll lie to me to cover things up. You went out of your way to look good for your ex-lover. You were intimate with him and abandoned your marriage by taking off your rings, then lied to me again and again. In my opinion, that's more than enough reason for A, and you know it. Sandy was shaken to her core. She had just realized that she hadn't really thought this through, and the way Ryan laid it all out made her feel like a cheating wife. Up until that moment, she had just seen it as a bit of teasing and flirting. Nothing serious, for the first time since Billy had reached out to her. She understood that this had turned into an emotional affair, one that could easily be considered infidelity. Maybe not physical, but certainly emotional. She was still crying, and she knew that if the roles were reversed, if this had been her husband's affair, she would have reacted the exact same way. "What have I done?" she whispered to herself. Her heart ached, and she felt nauseous from the pain she had caused her husband. She had to reach Ryan and save this marriage. "Ryan, you have to believe me." Nothing happened. After lunch, we went our separate ways. "But you have to believe me." Nothing happened. "It was just lunch," she said, sobbing and searching for a way out. "Now I understand how it looks. And if the situation were reversed, I would feel exactly the way you do right now, and I'm so sorry. Could you please try to forgive my stupidity? This goes beyond stupidity because you did it with your ex-lover, the one person you promised to avoid. Can you explain why you dressed like that for him without your wedding rings? Can you explain why you were holding hands and kissing him? Can you explain why you kept lying to my face? Tell me, dear, does this mean nothing to you?" And yes, if the roles were reversed, I'm sure you would feel very differently. "Ryan, I know it looks bad, but I took off my rings when I was painting. My nails. I forgot them when I realized I was running late. It sounds unconvincing and I can't excuse it, but I can only promise you that I wasn't trying to hide them. He knows we're married. He knows you're married. Yet he still wants to see you and kiss you passionately in public, and you went along with it. That's an unconvincing excuse. Meeting your ex-lover behind my back and lying about it, that, in my opinion, is a breach of our agreement." A little irritated, she said, "I'm not sure what to say, other than it was just lunch with a friend, and I just wanted to look good." "Well, that doesn't matter. You lied to me and met with him. Do you think I'm a complete idiot? I know this meeting had to be planned in advance, and you hid it from me, not even bothering to mention it. And when I saw you two kissing like that, it became clear that you want more than I can give you. Ryan, baby, we can't get divorced over something like this." Nothing happened. He was in town and invited me to lunch. I know I shouldn't have gone, and I know how jealous you get. But we had a long history together. I thought that one lunch after not seeing him for so many years wouldn't be a big deal. I guess I dressed up to show him what he lost when he left me. I kind of wanted to rub it in his face, what he missed out on and how happy I was. It still hurts me to think about how he left me back then, and I just wanted a little revenge. Yes, I kissed him, but it wasn't a romantic kiss. More like two friends meeting or saying goodbye. You have to believe me. I don't want anything to do with him. Please, baby, let's work this out. I'll do anything you want. Really? It means nothing. You'll do anything I want. Hearing that she had a chance to save the marriage, she smiled, eager to hear what she needed to do, and said, "Yes, of course. I'll do anything you want, baby. All right, Sandy, I'll give you one chance and only one. I have just one request. Let me see your cell phone." "Why?" She looked at me with a puzzled expression. "Well, Sandy, if it means nothing, then give me your phone. I want to see if there are any text messages from him and what you two have been saying to each other." "No. You don't need to see that," she said, staring at the floor. She knew that if I read the messages, it would hurt me and reveal a lot that she didn't want me to see. That's exactly what I thought. So, let's go back to my original question. How do we want to do this? She started crying and begging me to forgive her, promising that she would never do this again. It brought back heartbreaking memories of my first marriage. I couldn't believe I was reliving this nightmare. This time, I wasn't going to believe all the lies and let it continue. Wait, please wait, Ryan. If I give you my phone, will you promise to give me another chance? You have to know that I love you and that I've never cheated on you before. Maybe I got caught up in a stupid online relationship, and yes, with my ex-lover, but I was foolish and acted like a teenage girl. The flirting and compliments felt nice, and it stroked my ego. I know how childish that sounds. If I give you my phone, you have to promise that you'll give me another chance. I can't do that, Sandy. But I promise you this, if you don't give me your phone, we are 100% done. My next step will be to call Mark Wilson, the attorney I've already spoken to, and ask him to file for divorce this week. She knew she had no other choice and knew exactly what I would be reading, their romantic texts from the past 2 months. The only thing she could hope for now was that I would see it as a foolish emotional mistake and still believe that she was completely mine. She still convinced herself that since there had been no physical sex, I would understand and forgive her. In her mind, she had to make me realize that she had never had a physical affair with him or anyone else. When Ryan opened the messaging app, he saw Sandy sitting with her head in her hands, crying and softly saying, I'm sorry. Please forgive me for being stupid and an idiot. I love you, Ryan, and there is no one else. The text messages told a completely different story. The ones that hit him the hardest were from Sandy to Billy. I still love you, was the first phrase that cut through him like a knife. I missed you, was another, igniting his fury. The rest was as expected. They talked about old times and how much they missed being together. But the last few messages hit Ryan like a punch between the eyes. When she told Billy that her marriage had gone stale and that she was bored, and Billy replied that he missed her wonderful body and couldn't wait for them to become one again, it was so painful that Ryan felt like screaming. But it was her response that made his stomach turn when he saw the picture of her freshly shaved body with the caption, My little kitty can't wait. Ryan slammed the phone shut in disgust and threw it onto the table. Well, that opened my eyes. In the end, I will forgive you, Sandy, but I won't stay married to someone I can't trust. And based on your actions, it's clear that I can't trust you. What I just read is exactly what I expected, and it's something I will not allow myself to live with. Maybe your boyfriend will make your life more exciting, and maybe he'll take you back now that he knows what he's been missing. Sandy, I will miss you. But I will find a woman who wants to be with only me and won't disrespect me with lies and secrets. Ryan, what do I have to do to prove my love to you and make you change your mind? Nothing. When I saw you walking hand in hand with him, standing there while he held you and kissed you, my heart broke. Now, knowing that you sent him intimate pictures, told him you still love him, and then said you were bored with our marriage, that was more than any normal man could take. It's sad, but I feel like all the time we spent together was wasted, and I was nothing but a fool. Working hard, planning a family, taking care of you and our home, only to find out that you were meeting up with your ex-lover. Do you realize that if you had told me the truth when I asked you about your day, how differently I might have seen this? I mean, I can almost understand what you might have wanted to do based on this history. But the problem is that you hid it from me and lied about it. No, I know that if I hadn't found out, you would have never told me. That's the real issue, baby. Tell me I'm wrong and that you would have told me everything about your date with your ex-lover after you came home. Don't bother. I already know the answer. Trust, loyalty, and honesty are my core values, and you trampled on them without a second thought. You knew how this had happened to me before, and yet you did it anyway, without thinking about us. If you had called me and told me what you were doing, I wouldn't have been happy, but I would have let you go to lunch. Now I have to wonder, have you done this before? If we stayed together, I would have to question whether what you tell me is the truth. What are you doing when I'm not around? Are you with him or with other men? I can't spend my days with these thoughts, and it wouldn't be fair to either of us. How can I just forget how easily you lied to me? Yes, kissing him and dressing sexy for him is troubling. Taking off your wedding rings is hurtful, but the lying and deception are unacceptable. What I do know for sure is that I won't live like this anymore. Ryan, you're right, and I made a stupid mistake. I lied because I knew you'd get angry, but I shouldn't have. Even if it was a mistake, I needed to get some kind of closure. I thought that one lunch would be my revenge, without harming myself and without breaking any rules. But now I see what I've done, and I truly regret it. I would never do anything to hurt you, I promise. Can we work on this? I want to be transparent and open, like you. My problem is that I never want to hurt anyone, and I avoid it whenever possible. Now I see that not being honest is actually worse. Well, honesty and transparency are the only things that could have saved this marriage. But you weren't transparent or honest until you were forced into it. The fact that you refused to let me read your text messages until you realized you had no other choice sealed your fate. Tears streamed down her face as she sat there, knowing how these messages exposed her dishonesty and lack of trust. She knew I wouldn't accept it, and in the end, realized that her emotional affair with another man was just as destructive as if she had taken him to bed. She told herself she would never make a mistake like this again. Unfortunately, our happy marriage came to an end. We signed the papers and officially divorced 3 months later. We sold the house, split our money, and parted as friends. No reconciliation, no revenge, no hatred. All that remained was the smoldering ashes of a once happy marriage, destroyed by deception, lies, and lost trust. I kept dating, but after being burned twice, marriage was no longer in my future. Sandy and Billy eventually slept together, and 2 months later, Sandy got pregnant. The moment Billy found out, he dumped her, telling her to handle it because he wasn't ready for kids. The next morning, Billy disappeared, leaving Sandy alone with the child. I heard from her sister, Debbie, that she became a shell of her former self. Her self-esteem was shattered once again. Sandy remained in a constant state of depression, and when she lost the baby after a brutal fall from a long staircase in her apartment, her life turned from paradise to a living hell, all because of her vanity and selfishness. She simply couldn't forgive herself for destroying our happy marriage and losing my love and respect. Trust, loyalty, respect. Screw up one, and you lose all three. Thank you for listening until the end. See you in the next episode of English Epics. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.